it's not very often that I get to talk about a pay-per-view that is such widely regarded as great. And it's not very often that I get to talk about a pay-per-view that sets the bar for wrestling. WWE Backlash made that bar a whole lot lower, and I'm glad that I'm able to talk about this because if I had to sit in my house and just think to myself, I might be like one of the many people that are currently giving up on SmackDown. Now, while I don't think it's that awful, I can understand why that reaction has started. Now, obviously, there is a very, let's just say, intriguing thing that happened towards the end of this pay per view, but as with most reviews, it's best to start at the beginning and work our way through. In the case of WWE Backlash, that would be the pre-show with Aiden English going up against Ty Dillinger. It's good to know that we had a level of consistency through this show because we start off with some 10 out of 10 bullshit. Because we have Aiden English coming out and singing, which arguably, as time goes on, would become more entertaining by comparison. But to begin with, it was just like, oh great, here we go. Just stereotypical heel stuff. So, nothing too crazy. And that was the standard of the pre-show match. In fact, if you say the words pre-show match, you should already be well aware of what connotations and what meaning that brings. But we have a couple of below average moves from Aiden English, and we have a very, very long chin lock. What do I have to say here, really? It's Aiden missed his dive by a long shot, and that was the thing to show on later on in the pay-per-view that this was the highlight. And Ty Dillinger had a bad-looking tiebreaker. I still don't understand why he's over. I mean, please let me know. But I might be one of those old-fashioned people that just doesn't get it anymore because there was a lot of decisions that I don't understand. So, I mean, I don't know. I could be wrong, and I'm willing to accept that. Jesse, did you have any thoughts of the pre-show match whatsoever?
I liked the guy's glasses. That was cool.
Yep. Okay, so next we had Dolph Ziggler versus Shinsuke Nakamura, which is surprising because it's not like I got 6 million ads for this on the network or anything. That was just like promoting Dolph Ziggler versus Shinsuke. So it was weird to know that I was going to get this straight up as the first official match of the card.
They have so much good shit planned with it. That's the first thing they showed me.
So on one hand, I was like, okay, well, I don't have to wait for this. On the other hand, I was like, oh god,
What am I waiting
what
for?
am I waiting for then? It's like, so let's get into this match. Dolph Ziggler dodged Shinsuke for the most part, and they eventually did a lock-up, which Shinsuke would proceed to break out of with, I think Dolph had the wrist lock on at the time. So the thing that we both talked about while this was airing, and keep in mind that this is the third pay-per-view that WWE has put on in 3 days. So, I mean, not only is the oversaturation here, but it kind of hurts seeing what else they put on and then being like, okay, time for the official main roster one.
For the big time.
Here comes the big time to Shinsuke Nakamura, apparently, because even though you mentioned the fact that, even though you're just like, oh yeah, here's the IWGP Championship that he won that, and he won the NXT Championships. This is his debut match, and this is the first time that he's ever, made the big time. This is his debut, and I don't get that. Like, if the main storyline is, oh, this guy hasn't done anything in WWE, and we're supposed to ignore the NXT stuff, and we're just going on the WWE stuff. We're not talking about any of his other achievements, numerous though they may be. We're just going to talk about the stuff he's done in WWE. Last time I looked, NXT is part of WWE, but regardless, if we say, oh, he's just got here, he's just made his debut on SmackDown, it's his first match, why would you bring up NXT then? Why would you say, oh man, this is his debut match? Also, he's won the title a couple of times in NXT against Bobby Roode and blah blah blah. It's just like, what are you doing? You're going against your own narrative. And, while it is nice to have a little bit of honesty, it just, if you're trying to sell something as this is the story, and then you're just like
there's honesty, then there's breaking kayfabe.
Exactly. But anyway, there was a "Let's go Ziggler, Ziggler sucks" chant.
Warranted.
Yeah.
He does suck.
And we had, he does suck, but he did do a good drop kick. And we had some retaliation kicks to Dolph, where Shinsuke missed the first kick and then spun around again to connect with it. Shinsuke would then go and place Dolph on the turnbuckle and just knee him in the gut. Dolph would, unfortunately, when he finally got his offense in for the DDT, we had the worst camera angle for that. And Ziggler would hit his famouser on Shinsuke, which Shinsuke would kick out of. Dolph would go for the super kick, which Shinsuke would reverse, which caused Dolph Ziggler to hit the zigzag. Now, that was the first time Jesse had, even though he's been watching for a while, this is the first time Jesse actually managed to hear the name called out as it was happening, and it was interesting just hearing it.
Zigzag.
Exactly, and it's just like, well, that's what it is. And so, I mean, wasn't doing Dolph any favours in Jesse's eyes. We get a 2 count, and Dolph received a heel kick to the back of the head, which prompted Dolph to super kick, I think, the back of Shinsuke's neck. And later on in the match, we'd have Dolph spit in Nakamura's face, which caused Shinsuke to get a little bit, more fired up. And Shinsuke would eventually finish Dolph Ziggler with his Kinshasa. This match was not as good as I thought it would be. And even though I'm not the biggest fan of Dolph Ziggler, I know that he has the capability to do good things, especially when he pushes himself. This was not one of those times, I guess. While the match wasn't awful by any means, it was not great. It was underwhelming for what I expected. For what was promoted for weeks on end, and what was the main selling point, arguably, of Backlash, for what we got, it's sad to say that it deserved to open up the show. Your thoughts, Jesse, on why that match may have been like this, or?
Maybe it's WWE trying to be safe with their talent like usual, but I don't know, man. It could be we've seen a bunch of cool shit, and now it's like, okay. Like, the main stuff is always going to be slow and meandering compared to everything else. But, like, that was exceptionally weird to see Shinsuke Nakamura and Dolph Ziggler not put on a fantastic match.
Yeah, it was...
Maybe just expected a lot of them because they were that, and they just didn't deliver.
And that could be it. Like, we might have been expecting too much, but at the same time, WWE was pushing this as like, no, this is the reason to watch, guys. We know. Yeah. We know that this is why you guys want... this is what you guys want, rather. So come on. And then it's just like, well, that was a match. Once again, it wasn't bad, guys. I'm not saying that by any means, but when you say things like... the Breezango Fashion Police versus the Usos was more entertaining. It's like...
Dude, it was so good.
So, we had a repeat of a promo we already got, which I didn't like, but I mean, it was still funny, like, the second time around, which I guess is, like, to Breezango's credit.
And there was a point.
Yes, and the point of it was to refamiliarize the crowd with the fact that Tyler Breeze has, or Prince Pretty, has been going undercover as part of his fashion police thing. So I know that a lot of people wonder what belongs in professional wrestling. For me, it's like, is it entertaining? And that's usually what I grade something on. And I've always thought that comedy definitely has a place in wrestling. It's been there from arguably some of the earliest outsets of pro wrestling. And that was what we got here with the Fashion Police Breezango versus the Usos. I for one really loved the fucking fact that they were just saying day one is H. Um,
soon our day one will be H.
So Tyler Breeze is undercover for most of this match. He even comes out as the janitor at the very beginning. Even when he got tagged in, he was like mopping the ring, which was amusing because then he does some like kung fu master shit that you would expect, where it's just like he steps out of the way, causing one of the Usos to go into the turnbuckle and then trip over the mop behind him, and it's just like it's funny. The mop was broken, however, by one of the Usos, and it was broken into a dab.
Yeah.
They snapped the fucking mop
They snapped
and
it,
dabbed.
They threw it away, and then he dabbed. And it was like, oh man, you're a thug.
Now, as some of you may know, I can appreciate doing the dab to infuriate people, and I know that's what was being done right now, but at the same time, it's like, oh god, it's weird to see the dab.
Look at it, Stuart.
It's weird to see the dab permeating modern culture, I guess. Like, it's just coming into, like, entertainment. I'm just like, oh, jeez. It's like if you turned on the TV and people were talking about arrow in the knee. It's that kind of feeling.
God.
So anyway, when they attempt to do a splash on Tyler Breeze, he just rolls slowly away to the opposite corner. And so then he's like, oh, well, one of the Usos is like, oh, okay, I'll go run into the other corner. And then he just goes and rolls the opposite way again. And this continues, I think, around 3 or 4 times. And, you're having a bit of a laugh at this. And when Fandango eventually did get tagged in, I thought that Fandango was, like, surprisingly good in this match.
Dude, yeah, like, the best spot, I would say maybe even the fucking pay-per-view.
Yeah, man. Which is...
He ran off the ropes into a Hurricane Run, I'm pretty sure.
It was impressive. And he'd hit a nice leg drop. And when fucking Tyler Breeze came back dressed as an old lady, and we had "Let's Go Grandma" chants.
Yeah.
So, good work, crowd, for chanting the whole... That's a unique one that you came up with on the spot. That was good. You guys you helped the situation instead of hindered. And JBL then had the dress that Tyler Breeze was wearing thrown at him. So, yeah. We had an awesome whirlwind DDT from Fandango, and I'm not sure if at the very end of the match Fandango was tagged in before he was pinned, but it might have been something that I missed.
Or that wasn't shown on that.
Yeah, because when I was watching that and I saw them carry off Tyler and then throw him on the barricade, I was just like, oh, okay, so it's going to be a count out, I guess. But then they went back in and pinned Fandango, and I was like, maybe it was a whirlwind tag team match? I'm not sure. Anyway.
Maybe who cares? It's a fucking Uso.
Yeah, that wasn't the stuff we were supposed to be focusing on with this, and I think that if anyone tries to say, okay, this is meant to be the gold standard of wrestling, then you're looking at it wrong. It's the very same reason that we found the sea creature, which was also Tyler Breeze. He was the banker in that scenario. It's why we found that funny. You can have some comedy in wrestling. So the Usos retain the SmackDown Tag Team Championships.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Usos, despite being kind of generic and bland, they're also good at what they do, and they're like one of the most prominent tag team wrestlers of the, tag teams in general of the modern era. Now that I think about it,
the most legit modern tag team.
Yeah, I mean, no one else really has the same tenure that they do. Oh my god! So, a lot of you guys know that for a long time I've been trying to talk well and positively of Baron Corbin. And I like Baron Corbin. I like the image and I like the gimmick that, and I see potential in him. And he does a couple moves very well. And even when he does basic moves, he at least does them with proficiency. And I never look at them and go, "Oh man, that looks fucking shit." With the okay, there is one move, much like uh, Tyler Bate, that I would prefer to have, you know, disappear. But even then, Tyler Bate in the NXT show somehow managed to
Oh
make
man,
the airplane spin look good.
it looked amazing because
And
he was dizzy and then he dizzy walked into a pin. It's like, oh shit!
it was so. Who knows? Maybe, given time, Baron Corbin could make the bear hug more effective. I'm not sure, but as I just mentioned, it is
It's just
possible
so bland.
to change my opinion on a move, just like depending on how you display and how it's being sold. So anyway, after the tag team championship match, we did get the Sami Zayn versus Baron Corbin match, which after the lockups breaking thanks to a rope break, Sami decided to flip off the rope and land on his knees in the ring and sort of do a ta-da moment of like, look what I can do, I'm able to keep up with you, blah blah blah.
Oh, that's like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I felt. I was like, okay, yeah, we know if there's one thing we know about Sami Zayn, it's that he can do a flip. Um, so Baron begins his systematic breaking down of Sami Zayn. I feel like you said it best, Jesse, when you're like, this is the school nerd versus the school bully. I feel like that's how they build this, but I mean, when I say systematically breaking down, I mean it was slow and not like slow and methodical. It was slow into move. The worst of the offenders was Baron Corbin got Sami Zayn with the bear hug, which Sami Zayn would escape out of
Oh my
to
god.
be caught in another bear hug.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Don't do that. Uh, Sami did escape finally from that second bear hug, and he pulled the rope down. So then Baron came running after him like the brainless thug that he was portraying. He goes over the top rope. Um, I mean, not a very entertaining spot, but I mean, if they're trying to push like Sami Zayn's barely holding on, I can understand why they did it. Um, we encountered for the first time that this match feels like it's going too long. Uh, Baron did something that sort of made me snap back into it when he just decked Sami Zayn in the face.
Yeah, that's fucking smashes.
And I was just like, whoa, I mean, that looks good. And so, and then he did that again. And I was like, wow, he's able to quite proficiently do these. Uh,
Yeah, John Cena get punched.
and when he went to for the third time, however, Sami was able to counter. Um, Baron Corbin then would go on to do a nice looking backbreaker to Sami, but Sami was able to kick out at two because this is the main roster and we only kick out at two.
It's storylines you can get to.
I do, but despite the grief I give him, I can acknowledge Sami Zayn's ability, but boy oh boy did we not see that with the fucking sunset flip that he did off the top rope. It just looked sloppy, and it took way too long to set up and do. And once again, this match was just way too long. Like, I get that they're trying to sell that Sami is like, he has to overcome this Goliath. This is what he has to do, and it's not going to be easy for him. But fuck's sake. Like, I mean, if we have matches where we're just like, this is a good match, it didn't feel like it was so long, and that's good. It's not meant to feel like it was long, you're meant to be caught up in the moment. But when you have moments that are just like, oh, and he kicked out, and oh, and he kicked out, and it's just like, okay, when's this going to actually end? And just for record's sake, I just looked up and I was like, how long was it really? It was only 14 minutes and 35 seconds.
God.
It felt much longer.
Felt like at least 20 minutes, 25 minutes.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, okay, it would have been probably 20 minutes or something. No, it was 14:35. It only felt like it fucking. Oh my goodness. All right, but you know what? That's okay because Sami Zayn was able to defeat the bully Baron Corbin. So Sami Zayn is on the up and up, and he's trying to increase his WWE stock. Um, your thoughts on Sami Zayn, Jesse, and Baron Corbin? Is he hurt by this?
I don't know, man. Baron Corbin's in a weird position where it's just like you can't do anything with him because there's no one to do it to, and Sami Zayn would be the person to do it to. But apparently they have plans for Sami Zayn for some fucking reason.
I feel like it's Baron Corbin is in that situation you described. It's like he's always losing, and then he'll pull out one win just to be like, "But look, I can do it." And Sami Zayn's in the similar situation,
How monster killers.
but it's like with Sami Zayn, it's kind of expected, and he's always like, "Yeah, I'm just the little underdog, so when I don't win, it's okay." But when Baron Corbin loses, it's just like you feel nothing almost. You're just like, "Yeah, Baron Corbin lost. That's to be expected." And then when he shows up and he wins, it's like, "Yep, Baron Corbin won. That's to be expected because he's a tall dude that has a bruising and brawling style." So I mean, they've really got to work on him, and I've always wanted them to do something with Baron Corbin. I say that every fucking pay-per-view.
Maybe Finn Balor.
I wish, but Finn Balor's on Raw at the moment. So
Fuck's sake.
anyway, speaking of fucking shit that was unnecessary, we get a Jinder Mahal promo, showing up and just being like, I think the whole gimmick is you don't like me because I'm foreign, which I think,
if you don't like me, you're racist.
yeah. I'm not sure if this is WWE being clever or WWE trying to cover bases. I'm not sure what it is. But either way, it was a promo that
I think it's all they can do with Jinder Mahal.
I'd like to think, and I conspiracy theorist. I think that because Impact and Under Anthem are going and doing their India tour, and they're doing live shows, and they're doing. I think they're actually recording some TV episodes while they're over in India as well, and building up that fan base. That they're like, you know, what would be the best way to just instantly crush that if we just gave Jinder Mahal the WWE title and said that he was winning it for India, because then even though he'd get healed.
Yeah, the fatal flaw in that is, what if the Indian fans are smart
and they don't like him? Yeah. Well, we'll find out. Unfortunately, the next match was also disappointing, and just for the people who want to hear me say it more directly, Ty Dillinger against Aiden English, bad. Shinsuke versus Dolph, it was alright. Usos versus Fandango and Tyler Breeze, it was good. Sami Zayn versus Baron Corbin, I'm going to say bad because it was too long. It felt too long, and I wouldn't feel comfortable saying average after, yeah. But the next match, boy, did we fucking take another nosedive, because we had Carmella, Tamina, and Natalya also going by the welcoming committee with James Ellsworth for reasons, versing Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, and Naomi. Right. I was well over the pay-per-view by now, because, I mean, not only had I got the match that I wanted, Shinsuke versus Dolph, but the Breezango versus the Usos was the only entertaining thing so far. So, I mean, I was kind of over it, and especially comparing it to the previous two pay-per-views this weekend, I was just like, okay, well, I mean, what have I got to come that might be good? And then I was like, okay, Kevin Owens and AJ might be good. That's what I've got to hold out for. So I had to get through this. But here's what I remember. Carmella kept striking Charlotte over and over, and Naomi did some bad kicks by just jumping up and down and kicking the sides of Carmella. I don't know what that is. That needs to stop. That's just, I don't know what that. It's like you're dancing on the spot. Um,
Maybe that's like a thing because she's a dancer.
I guess. I mean, it doesn't. If someone was to sell it properly, maybe if the kicks were to connect faster or have some more impact to them, maybe. I wasn't just impressed by this showing of them. I know that Naomi has the ability to be used properly because there was a time where we were happy that she
Yeah.
had become the SmackDown Women's
It was a
Champion.
decent match she was in that one time.
Yeah, and it was just like, what do we have here? Naomi getting put into a chin lock by Tamina. I mean, cool.
Never seen
This
that.
was the night of the rest holds. It feels. I mean, what was this? Are we still doing this kind of thing in the women's division? Are we still just saying, we'll throw
Let's
them
just
all?
throw them all in there. It's fine.
Yeah,
You got no fucking actual stories.
I'm. Especially when you're trying to push the idea that this is a new era. This is the new era of women's wrestling. We're no longer. It's no longer divas. It's
Let
no
us
longer the
demonstrate
piss
we're doing
break.
the same thing we've done.
This is meant to be taken seriously, and then every storyline is like, oh, we just threw them all together. Isn't it fun? It's like, no, it's not. It's just a
It's fun at that.
clusterfuck over and over and over, and you just keep doing the same clusterfuck and learning nothing. If you're wondering why aren't people getting invested, it's because like you keep throwing all of them with like, isn't Alexa Bliss on Raw at the moment? And she was she's in something. At least people know that. Oh yeah, she might be doing a tag team thing with whoever it is, Nia Jax. But at least it's like, okay, that's a character building thing. That's a story, even if you don't appreciate it. What's the story here? Charlotte, Naomi, and Becky.
Everyone picked each other's names out of a hat, and that was the teams. And like, hey, let's have a match.
And I do watch SmackDown and stuff, so I know that this has been billed, but it got billed in such a way as just like, oh yeah, we're the welcoming committee. Welcome to SmackDown, and Charlotte. I mean, I know you've
Had
been
less
here.
story than the fucking next.
I know you've been here for, a while, Becky and Naomi, but welcome Charlotte anyway. I mean, okay. Disappointing. Felt like it. Well, it didn't feel like it took too long. It was just longer than it should have been, which is 0 minutes and 0 seconds. And Becky Lynch tapped out to Natalia's sharpshooter. What can I say? It was a. I'm surprised that these kind of matches are continuing on. Right, now, obviously with the next one, we're going to save a certain element right for the end. But we had AJ Styles versus Kevin Owens for the WWE United States Championship. Now, this was going to be the match that was like, okay, well, I got Shinsuke versus Dolphin. That was average. That was
versus Dolphin.
This is supposed to be fucking Dolphin. Yeah, Dolphin Ziggler. Jotaro's biggest fucking wrestling. He's like, yeah, man.
Main squeeze.
So we had Shinsuke versus Dolph earlier on, and that was okay. So I'm like, okay, just gotta go to Kevin versus AJ. That'll be good. I know that both of those guys can pull out a good match. And the match started with Kevin Owens going straight for AJ Styles' right leg, which is, according to the kayfabe, it's been injured before. We got stupid idiot chants, which is proof that people still love that the Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho feud, which has probably been one of the most memorable feuds in recent years. But Styles would get hit by a drop kick, which would allow him to. Styles hit the drop kick, I think. Yeah, he did. And it allowed him to go on the offensive until Kevin finally got his clothesline in after, taking a bit of a beating. Jesse, what do you actually think about Kevin Owens? Because I know what you think about AJ Styles.
I can respect Kevin Owens. He can do a good match as long as it's paired with the right opponent. I like his gimmick and everything. I really appreciate his mic work and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I really like him as the champion. I wasn't upset about that or anything. He's legitimate enough in my eyes to fight AJ Styles.
Now, because you are a big fan of AJ, is AJ the right opponent for Kevin Owens?
It's hard because AJ is very it requires a lot to get AJ to go at his best sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
With what he does, like with all of his high flying shit and all that stuff, like he probably could have done that more in this match, but he just didn't.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's because he was injured or something, but like
So
wasn't his best match.
yeah, Owens would do 3 sentons to AJ while he was on the mat, and it wasn't enough to get a 3 count. We immediately start with 2s. So Owens would roll away from the Styles Clash later on and deliver a rather cruel-looking neck breaker. The two would go on to trade punches, and the match had a pace that was kind of refreshing from the rest of the card. It seemed like things were happening in a kind of natural sort of way, even though I think we did get a little spot heavy at the end with like kicking out.
Yeah.
But
That's just WWE though.
yeah. So you kind of, well, I'm not forgiving that. That sort of has to be taken into account. So we had Kevin going up to the top rope, and he would eventually try and, try and do something, but he got hit by AJ Styles, who tried to put him into a Styles Clash on the apron. That would never come because Kevin Owens escaped and then threw AJ into the steel steps. Steel steps, yeah, it's fine. You can do it properly, and this was one of the situations where AJ did sell the fact that his leg was hurt, and
makes sense for him to hit his leg.
yeah, and AJ would then, suffer Kevin Owens attacking that leg with the half Boston Crab and then the ankle lock, and it was really cool that Kevin Owens was doing some of his strong work, because it was like,
and that was some top notch selling by AJ Styles.
Definitely, and it was like, man, this is cool, and AJ would eventually get to the ropes, and how can I put this? I think it was a turnbuckle that AJ had from, he had a power bomb, I think, from the turnbuckle. I'm trying to remember that correctly.
Yeah, power bomb.
And he went to jump from the top rope eventually on his way back into the ring, but his hurt leg ended up giving out. So
which I thought looked really good, the way he just fumbles with his leg because it's hurt.
Yeah.
With the storytelling.
He would then deliver a Pele kick to Kevin Owens to bring him to the mat, who would then crawl slowly into the corner, and Kevin Owens would then hit the suplex from the top rope. AJ would eventually hit a suplex to Kevin on the apron, and this is when I was talking about it started to go, it wasn't like it felt like it was going too long. It was just like, for the amount of damage that they've caused one another, to just constantly be kicking out of like all these finisher or devastating type moves, it was just a little, I don't know. I'm not going to say that it hurts the kayfabe, because everyone knows, but it's just like, I don't know. It was unnecessary.
They could have done this at one big spot to end it, rather than just like, let's have 15 big spots and then not end it.
Yeah, exactly. AJ would get his foot caught in wires on the announcer table and get counted out, which caused Kevin to retain.
AJ goes up on the announcer table to try and do his Styles Clash thing on Kevin Owens.
Yep.
Kevin Owens runs out of the way, he gets out of it, and then AJ Styles goes to step off because the count's going at this point. It was like another 6, and then AJ Styles doesn't see a hole where the TVs were and puts his foot right in there, and his entire leg falls into the hole, and it looks like it fucking hurts.
It really did.
AJ Styles is in a lot of pain. He manages to pull his leg out of it, but then he falls over onto the floor, and then half of the table goes with him, but his foot is still caught on cables which are inside of the hole. So, and the ref's just sitting there doing the fucking 9, and then the guy's like, I can't fucking move. And then I go, 10, you're fucking out.
Oh dear. But Kevin Owens retains his United States Championship. So the next match that we get, which I didn't know we were getting, but we got it, which was Luke Harper versus Eric Rowan. Have you ever seen a slow motion footage of a kaiju film? because that's what we got here. I mean,
Uh,
I know that Luke Harper he can do his good
yeah,
big
I
man
don't mind
deal,
him.
but
But he's not quite he's not a beast, but he's Luke Harper.
yeah, he's a Bruiser Brody light.
I don't know who that is, but sure.
Eric Rowan, uh, also I'm pretty sure could do something. I mean, I feel like he could. I haven't seen that, so I don't have the evidence to prove that he would be great in one
He's got
on
a nice
one.
beard.
At least, I mean, I can't recall him doing anything that I was just like, oh fuck yeah, Eric Rowan did that in singles.
I hate the yeah chant.
But then again, I wouldn't, I wouldn't.
Who fucking pays attention to his matches anyway?
Exactly. And to be fair, he could end up winning the WWE Championship one day. I mean, with credentials like that.
Shut up.
But so what do I remember here? I remember fucking Rowan missing a splash, the match going outside the ring.
He looks at the mask at one point.
Yeah, Harper stunning Rowan and returning to the ring to jump through the ropes on him outside again. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, Harper through the ropes. I remember that line being said.
the uh, the match went back inside the ring, like, and both of them just kept doing like power bombs and slams to one another. JBL,
Constantly counting the time.
fucking JBL kept talking about being in people's minds.
Yeah.
Like,
I want to be a fly on the wall inside of Eric Rowan's mind.
yeah, like he's. I wonder what it would be like to be a fly on the wall inside of Eric Rowan's brain, and we're just like, what the fuck? What does that even mean? A fly on the wall inside someone's brain. And then he kept saying that, and kept asking the other announcers, "What do you reckon it would be like to be a fly on?" It's like, what the fuck, dude? Are you just on repeat? But
I think he was, because I think he checked out at the same time we did.
as we were fucking, well over the pay per view. Well, this is a while after we were over
Proper over.
it. Luke won with just a clothesline. And I mean, fair enough. That's what the match deserves, to be honest.
That's what it needs.
So Luke Harper won this match.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, that's what you have to leave in the family.
That's what you get. You get a win on a pay per view. So you
Yeah.
So you might know that the cadence of how we're doing this review is a little unfamiliar to some of the people that have listened to our other reviews, and that's because this was not a good pay-per-view by any means.
There was one other pay-per-view that was just as horrible and we were just as cadencey.
Mm-hmm. It's just when you have to sit through a pay-per-view and it's like it's not good.
It's like when you watch two great pay-per-views and it's like, oh man, that was a good day. Oh, there's one more and it's shit. Fuck yourself in.
Yeah, man. Have you ever sat down and you've just watched The Godfather 1 and 2 and then you watch Godfather 3? Or, I mean, I know that people bag out on the third Matrix film, but I mean, if you watch 1 and 2, 2's not that great, and then you sit down and watch 3, you're just like, this is getting progressively worse. That's kind of the feeling of today. It's just like, oh, that was good. That was good. And it's like, oh, there was some good things about that. I mean, I can appreciate. Why did I come back again? That's just.
Hey, that Breezango match, right?
Yeah, I mean, there was a good thing here, and I'm sure that. Well, I mean, machines look cool, I guess, when they're getting gunned down.
Shut up.
But enough about the third Matrix film, because we got to spend some of our time to talk about Jinder Mahal versus Randy Orton.
Don't hinder Jinder.
He was unhindered. Okay,
I'd say he was pantsed.
my issue with this is, if we take a look at wrestling, it's always, even to this day, had a level of kayfabe about it. That even the comedic acts, when we take a look at what was happening with Breezango versus the Usos won, and the kayfabe was that the Usos were fucking weirded out, and they were just like, "Are you serious with this whole thing?" And everyone for months, Breezango has been represented as, this is the joke team. This is the team, and that they're dumb. They're super concerned with fashion.
Even they can wrestle.
And if we look through their history, we're like, okay, They've had some notable wins to their name. Tyler Breeze, especially in NXT, and fucking Fandango won his debut against Chris Jericho at WrestleMania. So it's like at least there is something there. Now, for all of you people out there, I would like you to tell me one time that Jinder Mahal had a moment. I would like you to tell me that
Sound
the
off in the comments below.
what's your favorite spots from Jinder Mahal?
The acne is back to a good spot.
um, what's your favorite moments of Jinder Mahal? Was it when he was doing the same thing he's doing now without the push, or was it when he was in 3MB?
3MB was cool.
Was it
not because of him, because of Heath Slater?
when you saw 3MB and you're like, Heath Slater, yeah, he could be a comedy act. Drew McIntyre, he could be the serious bruiser one. And then you had Jinder.
He's there.
He's there, yeah.
He's the third man in the three-man band.
If you try and keep wrestling at a level of, this is its consistency, this is this kayfabe, this is why you should care, this is the internal universe, these are the rules of the internal universe. And then you're just like, this guy who has been jobbing, who's done nothing memorable his entire career, and you're like, yeah, he won the contendership. Even though he cheated, he had the Singh brothers help him, he won, and then he started talking about how he was the best, and you notice that he didn't have the wrestling capability to match with his mouth, and he didn't have the promo ability to even sell himself as a wrestler. And then you're like, this guy is I'm going to skip ahead. This guy's the WWE champion. This is the face of your company. And while I can
beat fucking Randy Orton.
The man beat Randy Orton. Randy Orton, who I've always said, you can't have a terrible match with Randy Orton.
I beg to differ.
Well, I would like to say you can. And I was disproven by Jinder Mahal and the Singh brothers. To be fair, the Singh brothers did what they were expected to do, and
fucking Jinder Mahal.
Yeah, and when I fucking just see like on paper Jinder Mahal versus Randy Orton, I'm like, what? Like, and then the WWE, I guess they're running with that because they're just like, oh, he's the underdog. It's the Cinderella story, and I'm like, what? Why? What are we doing here? Did he like? Does he have some like secret fucking information on one of the members of WWE's like office, and he's just like, I will fucking like blackmail you unless you do this? I mean, who thought?
He was the one that came and told Vince McMahon that what TNA would do.
I guess, but it's just, I mean, he had to have done something. I remember Jinder Mahal fucking up a spot so badly that he had to walk backwards continuously into a grab because someone was on the ground ready to grab him and he realized that he was off, so he had to fucking moonwalk over to them and then fall down. It's like he's a heel, but he's a heel because no one wants him there. And it's a unique situation because it's like, even with Roman Reigns, there was a time where he was popular. Yeah. And on paper,
he has some kind of legitimacy.
On paper, you dislike him, but he has held the WWE Championship. So it's like, even if you don't like him and you don't like the matches he's put on...
Even before that, he was in S.H.I.E.L.D. and they were pretty successful.
I never thought I'd say this, but I don't like John Cena. But if he wins, there's at least some sort of, oh yeah, but I guess he's done this, so it... With fucking Randy...
It fucking makes sense of John Cena.
It makes sense. If Randy Orton loses to Jinder Mahal, it's like the lowest person you've ever promoted versus one of your veterans of your company, and you're like, this guy is like, he's the gatekeeper to the championship. He proves whether or not you're worthy to fucking hold the belt. And in this instance, it was very literal, where it's just like, I have the belt, take it from me, and he did. Which means that in internal wrestling logic, I know that they're like, oh, anything can happen in the WWE. This means that James Ellsworth could beat, or have a chance at beating Randy Orton. This means that people like Fandango, who has, more legitimacy, but he could beat Randy Orton. Aiden English.
Miz could beat Randy Orton.
Miz could beat Randy Orton. Aiden English earlier on could beat Randy Orton, because none of these people have had any fucking billing. But it brings down the entire company, because you're like, this is the most prestigious championship, and there is no skill required to get it. Or even if you start saying, like, oh man, but Jinder Mahal has a lot of skill. He's not a good wrestler. He does not good at promos. But even if you say he's got skill and people out there believe you, you've only started saying it from today.
Yeah. Well, yeah, man, because the more steroids you take, the more skill you get.
It's not even like I'm enraged by this. It's just I don't understand. It's like you're shitting on your own kayfabe. I mean, if you're trying to promote this as, and I know that, the day is over. Vince McMahon has said it's sports entertainment for time immemorial. Everybody's in on it now. Everybody knows it's a work. But your internal logic and your storytelling that you've been saying for years means that there is this kayfabe, that there is this level of believability that you buy into.
What if some random guy just shot Goku and beat him?
Wouldn't that be something that we'd get upset about?
Nah, man, you'd fucking hail it as the future of anime.
Yeah, man, I'd fucking say it was better than the other one, which built up Goku again from childhood. But, whatever, fuck that. Randy attacked Jinder before the fucking bell started, and the Singh brothers got involved. This scuffle, I suppose, would try and indicate that Randy was... Well, they said that he was taking Jinder Mahal seriously, although the other perspective could be that Randy Orton was scared of Jinder Mahal winning. That could be a way that you could look at that, because they're like,
Randy Orton didn't respect Jinder Mahal.
Exactly. Randy Orton doesn't respect Jinder Mahal. But the way that people could view this is that, he only attacked him at the start before the bell rung because he needed to get a couple of hits in, so maybe he could get disqualified, or maybe he was worried that Jinder would beat him. But anyway, the bell did ring, and it was... Okay, I'm going to simplify this for people, because I know that this review is starting to go on for a while, but it was rest hold, into table spot, into rest hold. I mean, I'm not kidding you. I don't like to use the word rest hold, because the internal kayfabe of the show is like, this is a chin lock and it hurts. But it felt like if I was to take all the times there was rest holds through this match, it would add up to 5 minutes. That's what it feels like internally. And since this match went for a little over 15 minutes, I mean, obviously there was the stuff that happened before the bell, but once the bell rung, that went for 15 minutes and 45 seconds. It felt long. And just seeing... I was like, okay, Jinder, I'm going to give you a chance here. I don't know why the fucking crowd is cheering for you. I don't know why this is happening. If you're supposed to be the heel in the first fucking place, I don't know why they're cheering for you. Are they cheering for you because it's ironic? Maybe. I've seen people praise you since the event ended because they're like, yay, WWE is doing something different.
Fucking irony is the death of all creativity.
It really is, because as I was just saying, it's people are praising because it's something different, which leads me to believe that
there was a let's go Hinder sucks.
People are like so desperate for any creativity from the WWE that they're willing to get on board with the jobber becoming champion in the space of literally 2 weeks, or people are ironically liking it because they hate your product and they like seeing the fact that you're doing something stupid. This is a no-win situation for you. If you've trained your audience to be like they're enjoying the fact that you're doing something stupid, or they think it's cool because it's like, oh yeah, it's something different, it's not just bland, either way, you fucking lost here. But Jinder didn't do anything to impress me. There were times that he couldn't even fucking... When Randy Orton later on would do his vintage spot where he would take them onto the ropes and then just do the basic DDT drop down, Jinder put his legs up and his knees so that his knees hit the ground first, and then he purposely put his head down on the mat. And it was just like, what the fuck? How can you not do this? You just let go and drop onto your chest or your head. How did you do this badly? Anyway, fucking rewinding a little bit, Jinder got thrown into a post, and it was like, oh, he hurt his shoulder. And Randy Orton would then do a superplex to Jinder Mahal from the top rope. Yeah, look, it was a good superplex by Randy. As far as I'm aware of in my brain, Jinder Mahal didn't do anything egregious with that. He sold decently as far as I can remember. Randy would sell his own shoulder, which was hurt, and hit a backbreaker, which looked nice. And then he proceeded to do that vintage Orton spot that I was mentioning. Jinder would roll out, and the Singh brothers would confront Orton. Randy Orton would leave the ring and proceed to beat up the Singh brothers. Jinder would go back into the ring, where the RKO makes its first appearance. And they had the Singh brothers pull Jinder Mahal out of the ring, that's fine. That's what they're there for. That's what they're there to do. I can understand that.
They're like the worst ever managers. The managers don't have any fucking promos.
So Randy would proceed to do his double vintage spot on Sunil Singh and Samir Singh, and Jinder would attack from behind to win 1, 2, 3. And Jinder Mahal would win the WWE Championship. I don't know. I don't know what I'm supposed to feel about this. Is it anger? Is it like is it joy that the belt has changed hands? Is it?
Yeah, that feeling you get when isn't just fucking smashing pumpkins.
Oh, it's apathy.
There we go.
There we go. That's what they were going for, apathy. All right. So I would like to mention, at least it wasn't a clean win, because that would make even less sense, and that might push me into anger. But it from the very start, it was just a Y match, and to end the pay-per-view with this was just disappointing, really. Jesse, your thoughts on this, and then the pay-per-view as a whole?
This match, I was very disappointed from the AJ Styles match, and then I was like, I wasn't expecting anything from this one, so it didn't hurt quite as much. But it's still fucking terrible. Just the idea of it is terrible. The fact that Jinder Mahal is still wrestling today is terrible. Like, I don't understand the wrestling, the event as a whole. Like, when Breezango and Usos is your best match, there's something wrong. Like, they're fine, but they're definitely not the best match.
Yeah, it's
Man, Tyler Bate's pretty good.
Yeah, but that's just it. I mean, I'd rather be watching the UK special or NXT Takeover Chicago. I would almost go as far as to say I would prefer to watch the 3-hour Raw, but I'm not exactly sure if. Yeah, I'm not going to go to that. This was a this was a bad event. If you want to watch one match, watch the highlights of like the Breezango match.
Yeah.
And if you really want to watch Shinsuke versus Dolph, you want to see how that turns out, you can.
Neither of them's best match though.
Yeah, it's not worth your time. So Anyway, guys, thank you for sticking around and hearing the review for WWE Backlash. I'm sorry that this is this is what we have to say about it. I wish I could be more positive.
It's not our
2007
fault. WWE's fault being a cuck.
2017 has been generally a more positive year for pay-per-views. We've had a couple of bumps in the road, but like this is look, I might regret saying this, but it can only be better from here on out, right?
I mean, Jinder Mahal versus John Cena.
Oh, fuck.